So I get about 62 to 65% of my leads from the YouTube platform directly from my YouTube videos. But what's really interesting is that 99%, pretty much 100% of my high ticket clients all come from the YouTube platform. So they do not come from those other traffic sources. Now, that's not to say that you couldn't convert them, but it just goes to show the power of YouTube. So that's what I want to break down in this video, why it works, why this strategy works, and why I didn't have to go viral to get any of those high ticket sales. So looking at this, most of my traffic generally comes from the Skool platform, direct from, say, my website and other sources, and then YouTube. So YouTube accounts, as I said, for around about 65% of the traffic coming in. But that means that 35% of that traffic here generally does not turn into high ticket sales. So they come into the community, they become members, they may even be active, but they don't necessarily convert. Or if they do convert, they take a lot longer to convert inside. And this is a pattern that I've seen over and over and over. Obviously, the Skool platform now has great data inside. And before that, I was asking people directly, where did you find me? How did you find out about me? And inevitably, they always said YouTube. And normally they could say 1, 2, or 3 videos that they binge watch to come through to my community. So I knew that they came from YouTube. But since they've updated the data in the Skool platform, I can directly see this being reflected as well. So it is exactly the case. So it's not that I don't get leads from other sources. It's just the people that actually turn into clients. And this is all from about 10 to 15,000 monthly views. So we're not talking about going viral here. We're talking about small numbers of traffic. And what I see generally happening is that inside the community model and the strategy that we use to grow our community, and I will link to our free community in the video description if you want to know more about the model that we use with YouTube and the group coaching model inside the Skool platform. So it's completely for free. I'll give you more training on that inside. But generally what we find is that about 5 to 10% of the people that become free members that are actually approved, obviously there's some that we don't approve, they generally turn into mid to high ticket clients. They will upgrade. So 5 to 10 out of every 100 new free members turn into paid clients. But given that 65% of the traffic made up this, that means that YouTube has a massive conversion rate. That means that probably more like 1 in 10 actually becomes a client from the YouTube platform. So that's absolutely really insane for me to even think about that. That shows the power of long form YouTube content. And what I hear from people when they come through the system is that they've normally binge watched a load of my videos. They know, like, and trust me. They basically feel like they already know me. So sometimes if I do happen to get on a call with them and I meet them, they tend to say how strange it is finally meeting you after binge watching a lot of videos. Or in the DMs, they mention that they've binge watched a lot of videos. But I generally hear this from people. They've not just watched one video, they've watched a number. They start to believe what it is that you're saying. They start to see that you're an authority, and they start to pre-sell themselves on, in the very least, joining your community. And that means what you do inside the community itself becomes more about nurturing, having a conversation, and just closing the deal with them because they've already pre-sold themselves. They already have decided that you are potentially the person that they want to work with. Now, obviously, there's always going to be a lot of dabblers and most people aren't necessarily buyers. But if I can potentially get a 10% conversion rate on my traffic, then this is absolutely insane levels. But the benefit of long form content, and this is the difference that I see, it's not that short form content isn't good for people, because if you are doing low ticket offers, if you are trying to get greater exposure, then things like Instagram can be great. So if you've got a lifestyle business, especially say fitness, and you're doing something that's low ticket subscription or, low ticket of some kind, so something that's not that expensive, then in terms of the volume of attention that you can get from platforms like Instagram and the way you can automate the DMs, it can be a great setup for some people. But the majority of people that I see in the coaching and education industry that want to sell high or mid-ticket offers, so let's say anything around $500 up, what we see is that long form, especially for coaches, as I said, works better because you can get more depth. You can go deeper in the type of content that you're creating. You can show your knowledge and people can really start to understand what it is you're doing. So what we're essentially doing is we're getting trust at scale. So much like a webinar would build trust because someone spends sort of 45 minutes to an hour with you and they start to buy into the concept, that means it creates conviction in people and belief, just like webinars. Whereas, as I said, Instagram is potentially good for attention, but not necessarily in terms of higher ticket conversions. Things that they might buy and have a look at and spend bits of money here. It's good for general consumerism. But at scale, long form, especially for coaches, is much better. And it shows what you think. This is where long form, such as even podcasts, although generally I recommend doing normal videos over podcasts because they get greater exposure and you can target people with more videos and more content, but it shows what you know, it shows your values, it shows who you are, as well as educating people on your beliefs and the solution around their particular problem. So it's not just you saying things in clips or sound bites, it's actually you going deeper on that particular topic. And it also filters serious people. And that's the difference. So you may not be getting huge numbers. So let's say I got 100 people to sign up each month. That's not a huge amount of leads. But from a small amount of views on the platform, the smaller number of people that actually then converted, if I'm then going to be converting quite a high level of them, then the value of those leads and the value of those conversions is obviously much more. So because it's high ticket, if I was selling low ticket, then no, that probably wouldn't work, because if I'm only getting 100 people in and only 10 people are buying and I'm selling a $20 product, then I'm going to go broke. So it's not going to work necessarily for that. But in terms of coaches and high ticket, you really need some type of long form content that's going to pre-sell people and allow you to monetize those smaller amounts of high value but serious people. So this is the way I see it. It very much is the YouTube type of content builds the trust and gets the click. And then inside the Skool part, we are just nurturing that bit more for those that maybe need a bit more of a conversation, which we can't really have on YouTube. So yes, you could capture an email, but this is not having a conversation. You can only really have a conversation inside the community. And even if those people have a conversation and then go quiet, maybe they'll buy in future. But the majority of people will generally convert, if they're going to, in the first sort of 6 weeks. So they've already made a decision, they've got some momentum, and you just want to continue that conversation so that then you can turn them into a conversion. You can convert it. But what I reckon is that, and this isn't obviously an estimate, I think that with the right type of content, you can actually do 75%, or at least let's say the majority of the work with your content itself. So the idea of your community and the tail part is really just about finishing it, closing the deal, having that conversation, nurturing a little bit more if necessary. But literally 75% of the work is done with your content. So your content really should be showing your knowledge and speaking to the pain and speaking to those people directly, so that is actively pre-selling. And obviously the issue with long form content is it requires consistency and clarity around who you're targeting, and we can help you in our free community around understanding how to position your channel and also how to position your content and your offer and so on. So we can help you with both the back end in terms of your community for the nurturing and conversation and closing people, and then also the content and the type of content that you should be creating. But it really is simple one-take videos that I see working really well for coaches right now. So you can actually just have minimal edit content. It doesn't have to be fancy stuff. You just want to be speaking to your target audience in a way that they are going to be understanding who you are and that you're an authority in your particular space. So it can just be a small audience, and you're going to get better quality leads from that. And the benefit, the added benefit that I see and I'm seeing is that not only are people more pre-qualified, they are more pre-sold, and therefore you don't really require sales calls. So I've started to wind back on sales calls. I'm only doing them if it's really necessary, if someone would actually like to speak to me. But otherwise, generally people come to me, and if they want to work with me, then they work with me. They buy, and then we work together. We move forward from there. But I'm not having to do sales calls that much, which means I'm saving time, I'm saving effort. And because the content is right and the community is doing the finishing inside, the combination of that 1-2 punch really allows you to generate more revenue with less work. So for me, long form YouTube content is absolutely where it's at right now for coaches and educational creators. So as always, if you'd like more help, I will link to our free community in the video description. Otherwise, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.